very happy, Ambassador Alfred Kalisa, Ambassador of Rwanda in Egypt, to welcome you in our program Zoom Africa.
Thank you for having me.
So if you want to talk about the genocide, and today it's re-commemoration of the genocide. So what we can learn from this story, especially for the youth?
Well, this unfortunate tragedy happened in 1994. The genocide against the Tutsi, where more than 1 million persons perished. However, it did not just happen. Actually, it was planned, and the seeds were planted well before independence in 1962. Rwanda is an old country. We trace our monarchy since the 14th century, up to the arrival of the Germans in 1890. During those 6 centuries, Rwandans lived together, speak the same language, have the same value, had an administration, one army, and we believed in God, in one God, Imana. Until 1890, when the Germans came and were defeated, and then during the Berlin Conference, and after that, the Germans were vanquished, and Rwanda was given as a protectorate to the Belgians. Mm-hmm. The Belgians, in their colonization process, as well as the Catholic Church, made a divide and rule among Rwandans to perpetuate their stay in our country.
Okay.
However, in 1950, 52, 53, that's where the independence movements in Africa started. And of course, Rwanda, with the then king, claimed their independence. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Belgians did not see this as a good thing. They didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. And they continued their divisive system where ethnicity, which we not know in Rwanda, started having, for instance, parties based on ethnicity. The party Parmehutu, mm-hmm. which relates to one so-called ethnic group.
Okay.
So at that time, the first pogrom tragedy started. Mm-hmm. Tutsis being targeted, killed, because in the mindset that the Belgians have set into Rwandans was that the Tutsis were the enemies because they wanted the independence. Mm-hmm. So independence came eventually. The king was killed. His replacement, his son, was exiled, and a lot of Tutsis were killed and pushed into exile. Mm-hmm. This continued under the First Republic in 1963, 65, 67, 1973. And every time attacks on Tutsi happened, thousands were killed, mm-hmm. and many, many more thousands mm-hmm. became refugees in neighboring countries or internally displaced in one corner of the country, which is a forest.
Okay.
So that is the tragedy of Rwanda. Mm-hmm. Instead of unifying the country, the First Republic espoused the ideology of ethnicity, Hutuism. The Second Republic that came into power in 1973 also emphasized division. Mm-hmm. Not only ethnicity, but even went so far within the same Hutu ethnic group in dividing regions where now within the same ethnic group where you come from. Of course, when you divide people, you can't rule.
Yes.
It's bad governance. In 1994, shortly before, in 87, the Rwanda Patriotic Front decided that after all the attempts to go back peacefully, to have refugees back peacefully back to Rwanda, they took up arms to liberate the country. And that is the sad story. In 1994, the then government, which had the responsibility to protect people, was one arming the youth militias, and itself participated, planned and participated in the genocide. Once the country was liberated, there was only one choice, either to become a failed state or to rebuild the country and go back to our ancestors' values.
Okay.
One people, one nation, speaking the same language, also living together peacefully for over 6 centuries.
This is the secret, right?
That is the secret. Go back to who you are. Forget about the colonial times. Forget about divisions. Just go back where we came from. The Rwandans speaking the same language, living together, marrying who you want without knowing which family comes from. Those were the traditional values. When Rwanda was attacked then, everybody would take arms. When Rwanda wanted to expand, everybody participated in the expansion of Rwanda.
Yeah.
These are our ancestors' value, which we still now share and cherish. So that small period of 70 years of colonial rule is a small time, consider the 6 centuries, right? Which the kingdom of Rwanda was known. So I think the secret is to go back to your basic values and not allow anybody else, any foreigner, to dictate how you're going to live and how you're going to relate to each other in your own country.
And all the Rwandans studying together, right?
Yes.
So now we are 28 far from the genocide.
Yes.
And the face of Rwanda changing totally from the genocide and the things to the great country. So we want you to tell the other countries, African countries, a message. How you make that, how the country make that.
It was not easy, but the strength is in unity. If we continue to be divided, that would have been the failure of a state. So we gathered ourselves, some of them wounded, physically, emotionally, traumatized, but we said, one, we want to live, but live together as one Rwanda. Let's go back to our traditional values and rebuild the new Rwanda. So the message of unity is very important. And unity brings first security. And then once you're united, the issue of governance is very important. Treating each citizen equally. These are the motto of the Rwandan Patriotic Front. And never again allows any Rwandan to be refugees and live outside the country. Albeit it is small, but we have space for every Rwandan. So that was the strength. Then, of course, we went to the basic value that now that we want to live together, what do we do with our country? In one generation, maybe 2, we can develop the country. So basically, with good governance, when you start economic development programs, be it in health, be it in economy, be it in culture, and so on. So you can see that the fundamental is unity.
Yeah, okay. So finally, we thank you so much, Your Excellency Ambassador Alfred Kalisa, Ambassador of Rwanda in Cairo. Thank you so much.
I thank you too. I thank CBC. Thank you.
Thank you.